Good morning. Good morning. It is Monday, June 30th, 2025, and you're watching the TMI Show with me, Ted Rall, filling in for Manila Chan. The M in the TMI Show is producer Robby West. Robby, thank you for doing that. Manila has a family emergency, and she'll be back as soon as she can. So we've got a lot going on this week. Over the weekend, big news coming out of Washington. Trump's major legislative push, which he has called the Big Beautiful Bill. I hate the name so much. I mean, it's one thing for him to call it that, but literally that's the official name of it, and it pisses me off.
Well, no, technically it is a big, beautiful bill because it is going to be a bill for the taxpayers to have to pay if you're a working class.
Yeah, I don't know how pretty it's
so it is
be.
a bill. Well,
Yeah.
it's if you're a banker, it's beautiful. If you're a normal Joe, you're kind of just really hating this thing.
Well, so we'll get into the details of what's in this thing as we currently speak. Voting was scheduled for this morning, and it's been delayed a bunch of times. They call it a vote-a-rama, another name I hate. That's going to happen tonight. Now it looks like. So obviously we don't have to be Senate vote counting experts to understand what's going on here, which is that it's hard for the GOP to get the 50 votes that they need to pass this fucker. So we'll see what happens there. We're also going to be talking about the situation here in New York City, where oddly, the incumbent mayor, who was so unpopular that he was not able to present himself in the Democratic primary with an under 20% approval rating, is now the great black hope for the people who want to defeat Democratic Socialist Mayor Mamdani. So Zoran, don't mess with the Zoran, but they're messing with the Zoran. It's a very strange situation, and we'll be getting into all of that as well. And finally, we'll be talking about the most hilarious thing, I think, of the weekend, which is the latest information about how much of an effect on Iran's nuclear program those bunker buster bombs that Trump dropped and risked on World War III over have had. The latest from the UN nuclear inspecting program is probably not much. If I remember, we were told before this happened, we have to stop Iran because they're only a few months away from being able to build a nuclear weapon. Now, we're apparently only a few months away before Iran can build a nuclear weapon. So shall we get into it?
And now they have an incentive to do it. So there's that.
Indeed. So let's, all right, Robby, let's go ahead and get into all of this. The big, beautiful bill coming for a vote eventually. That's what they're telling us anyway. Okay, let me get into the details of what's in this bad boy. And first, I'm just going to read you the latest about what's going on. Then we can just talk about it. Okay, so the Senate is going to have a series of votes about each amendment, right? Over the weekend, members of the Senate just debated the big, beautiful bill. Important thing to understand, it's about spending, but it's also about a whole lot of policies. In the end, this is basically a bunch of Trump economic and other policies, budgetary priorities, all jammed in one piece of legislation. In the end, this will end up being the equivalent of Biden's big, Inflation Reduction Act, as it was called. Biden had basically two bills: the Inflation Reduction Act, and he had the Build Back Better Act, and they kind of got famushed. And basically, he got everything that he got done in his entire administration legislatively during those first 6 months or 9 months of his office. Trump is taking a cue from that. It's pretty clear that once this goes through, that'll be it for anything really big, unless it's an executive order or a war or something. So that's what this is all about right now. It's about the Trump, economic priorities. So, by the way, there was some drama over the weekend. Tom Tillis, he's the Republican senator from North Carolina, sided with Rand Paul of Kentucky against the big, beautiful bill. He was worried about the deficit spending and also how it would hurt the work requirements, would make it less likely for everyone who's entitled to Medicaid to get it. So he decided that he was going to vote against it. This pissed off Trump to no end. Trump went on Truth Social and threatened to primary him out. So Tom Tillis said, "You can't primary out because I'm not going to run for re-election." Now, I don't know if Tillis made that decision before Trump threatened him and he was going to do that anyway, or if he's just like, you know what, he made that decision after Trump and he's like, I can't be bothered with this. This is just, and effectively he was pushed out of the Senate by Trump. I don't know the answer. And he's letting it look like it's the latter, though.
I don't know. I mean, for one thing, I just want to point out that every time that the government names a bill, it's always the exact opposite of what the name implies. Like the Inflation Reduction Act, for one thing, it did not reduce inflation; actually created more. And the big beautiful bill, there's nothing beautiful about it. It is big, so at least there is some truth in advertising. But as far as it being beautiful, there's nothing beautiful about this thing. And I just really am curious about why is it that Republicans never can have a spine? I mean, seriously. I mean, you have two examples. You have Rand Paul, and you have Thomas Massie, both of which Trump hates, and they're both just giving him the middle finger. And my question is where are the other Republicans? If you're a fiscal conservative that cares about things, all you got to do is just stand with them, just say no. It's the easiest thing in the world. As if you do that, you'll win re-election.
By the way, we have a question from a YouTuber backside of nowhere. Why would they build one Iran when they can probably buy one? Well, we'll talk about that. I mean, the short answer to that version, though, is people always think you can just buy like nuclear weapons on the open market. That's not really true. You know, there was that conceit like, oh, what if, Iraq had nuclear weapons and they gave them to someone like Al-Qaeda? Well, if you had nuclear weapons, you're not going to give them to Al-Qaeda. Or anyone else. I mean, they're expensive. And by the way, why would you think that would give you any plausible deniability if Al-Qaeda used it? And never mind the fact that also Iraq hated Al-Qaeda. So,
they could always just blackmail you too. So
why would you do that? Like, hey, bestie, here's guess what I got you for Christmas? You'll love this. Or Ramadan or whatever. Yeah. It's a ridiculous idea. It just wouldn't happen.
It's a big, beautiful bomb. It's a big, beautiful bomb.
It's the best bomb, the most beautiful bomb. So Tom Tillis and Rand Paul voted against the motion to start debate. So that's pretty militant, right? To say we don't even want to delay. We don't even want to allow this to come up for a vote. We hate it that much. 51-49, it passed. Ron Johnson of Wisconsin switched his vote at the last second. J.D. Vance, according to what I read, was actually on his way to the Capitol to cast the deciding vote to break the tie, which is pretty much the main thing, besides attending funerals, that vice presidents have to do, is to cast tie-breaking votes in the Senate. Trump said it was a great victory for his great, big, beautiful bill, but Rand Paul has said he'll vote no, and other GOP senators have problems. So I thought it'd be useful here, because I haven't heard a lot of detailed reporting for exactly what is going to be in this bill. Some of the highlights: tax cuts. So in 2017, the first Trump administration passed a bunch of tax cuts, which basically it cut taxes on average by about 22%. However, most of that was advantage to corporations and the wealthy, because that's what Republicans be doing. This would raise the child tax credit. So in 2017, those tax cuts are due to expire. Trump would permanently extend those, I guess, until some future Congress permanently unextends them. The child tax credit, currently $2,000, would go to $2,500 per kid. The small business deduction would go from 20% to 23%. You would be able to, as a factory owner or a business person, you'd be able to expense not a percentage of, but all of your expenses for equipment, manufacturing, research and development, and new factory construction, which, even though I'm a socialist, I kind of see why that stuff should be fully deductible, but it's going to be I do think there should be a differentiation based on whether you're talking about a huge corporation or a small mom and pop business. I think a local auto shop ought to be able to deduct all that stuff. I don't know that General Motors should be able to deduct all that stuff, but we could talk about that. Border security. This allocates $46 billion for building the wall, more of the wall, $45 billion for more ICE detention facilities. Again, I don't want to see ICE detention facilities. If you're going to have deportations of like bad people, which is the only people who I really think we should deport. I know you disagree, Robby. I don't want to, but I don't want to warehouse them I think we don't want people warehoused at taxpayer expense, hundreds of dollars a day each, in these facilities where they have no access to, medical care or legal representation. It's just not American. It's a concentration camp. Like, screw it,
And I agree with that. Honestly, I do. I mean, like how we were talking about last week, about the Alcatraz of the Everglades. I mean, I understand why you want to do it, because it's about
the prison industrial complex.
Well, it's that, and also what you want to do if you import millions of people, and then if you just want to put all these arbitrary conditions to deport people who shouldn't even be here, you got to put them someplace, because otherwise just let them go, just keep on running. What's the point? I think the better way to do this would be just to go this assembly line it, right? Hire 1,000 judges. Okay. Do you have a passport? Do you have a legal right to be here? No. Okay. Here's your plane ticket to Guatemala. Have a nice day. I mean, that's what I prefer to have happen. But if the open border people are going to engage in lawfare, then FAFO. Here you go.
All right, let's go into more details, Robby. So this part I really, really fucking hate. So Medicaid imposes work requirements starting in 2026, next year. Every 6 months when you re-enroll, you would have to prove that you were working or at least looking for work in order to get Medicaid. This is medical. This is medical care. I mean, if you're sick, how are you going to work anyway? This whole thing makes no sense. It's basically turning Medicaid into sort of a workfare welfare thing, and it's not. It also you might like this. Ends benefits for 1.4 million undocumented immigrants. Now, we just had a pandemic, Robby, and the way I look at it is, as long as we have undocumented people in the United States, it's to everyone's advantage to have everyone get medical care. I mean, I don't want something like COVID spreading around and people getting it and spreading it around, and they can't afford to go to the doctor and get a shot or whatever because they're undocumented. I mean, it's to our advantage that they get medical care.
Yeah, you look really fuzzy, Ted, on the stream. Yep, you look very pixelated. You look like you're on a VHS tape.
Oh well, they say I look best fuzzy. Yeah, I see. My signal is not as powerful as it ought to be. It's sort of in and out.
So it's a signal. What the hell? Signal erection syndrome. You got to have. You got to strengthen that signal. But no, I answer your question why you kind of play with that. No, I agree with you. I mean, like for example, if you have a measles outbreak, or if you have some kind of viruses that are coming in, I mean, you never really know. That's one of the reasons why I support these things called closed borders. I mean, if you deport them, again, they're not going to be here to make people sick. So I understand. And I guess, I mean, that's just a big problem, right? Because a lot of people come here to this country to get a better life. I understand it. Listen, I get it. If I was in Honduras or someplace, and if I had the ability, because I had a senile president up north, say, hey, come on in, bring your family. We'll give you free medical care. We'll give you $1,200 a month in welfare, help you find a house, fly you around, come on up. The water's fine. The temptation would be very strong for me to do it.
Sure.
The problem is, though, is that it doesn't help the country that you're going to if the country's already dealing with major problems. I mean, at the end of the day, people do have agency. If people in other countries, in other parts of the world, they do have the ability to fix the countries that they live in. It's not like they don't have a choice. They are able to. You can fix your home. You don't have to go squat at your neighbor's house because your house is dirty. Clean your house.
I don't know, Robbie. I mean, you and I are having a pretty hard time fixing up our home right now. Right? I mean, seriously, I mean, America is a mess. I mean,
I completely agree.
And you know, we can I think we can all agree on some of those things, right? I mean, the massive runaway spending, you know, massive militarism, a lot of people who can't, you know, get jobs or pay their bills. And then, you know, so, I mean, if this country is as rich as it is this dysfunctional, how is someone from Honduras, for example, how are they supposed to? They're in an autocratic regime. They, by the way, they had a democratically elected president until Obama helped overthrow him and replace him with an autocrat who's sucking up to the gangs. You know, I mean, you're surrounded by violence. You're desperately poor. If you're not desperately poor, you're not leaving. It's only the people who are desperate. And those are the people who are the most powerless, right?
No, sure. And listen, I get it. But no, here's one of the things, though. For example, we have a self-correcting mechanism here in the United States to help fix this. One of those ways you can do it is that you can elect a dude by the name of Zoran who eats rice with his fingers and then gets blasted by Laura Loomer online for eating rice with his fingers. So those are some of the ways that we are able to address this. We are able to affect real change. And if people get mad enough, like remember how Achilles, when he was on a couple of months ago, he was talking about the pots and pans protests. I forget what country it is he was talking about, but the people just went out there, were just banging on their pots in front of the presidential palace. It happens
all over the country, all over the world. It happened not that long ago in Quebec.
So I mean, those are the ways that you're able to enact change. The way that you fix your home is not by leaving it. Surely not by not leaving it illegally to go live someplace else where, frankly, you're not needed and you're not wanted. So you can fix your own house. There are things that you're able to do.
I mean, I disagree with that. I think the truth is there's nothing that one person can do. In the same way, it doesn't make any fucking difference if I vote. It makes no difference if I recycle. Makes no difference, you know, if I drive an electric vehicle. I don't make any difference. I mean, I think we can collectively all do stuff, but the point is that's like like you're one bird. You don't decide which direction the flock goes. Right?
I agree, but here's the thing, though, Ted. It's not one bird. We're not talking about one illegal immigrant or 1,000 illegal immigrants or 10,000 or even 100,000. We're talking about millions.
That's true.
So if you have that, if you have that kind of mass, if you have a literal nation on the move, you are able to enact change where it is that you're coming from. So the numbers are such a scale that people can't really understand it. Now, if you're importing the population of New York City every single year illegally, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing that? How does this help?
Well, we've talked about it here on the program, Robbie, because I mean, look, I don't know why really. Okay, I don't know what conversations take place in the corridors of power at places like the Metropolitan Club here in New York City, where the rich and powerful politicians and business people gather over fancy drinks to talk about like how the world should run. I don't know what the cabinet talks about when they're behind closed doors, but I think it's got to be about the birth crisis. I think it's about the fertility crisis. You know, when you have a 1.67 fertility rate, you need 2.1 to break even, and ours is dropping. It's not rising. We need more people because our economic model requires constant expansion, and we need increasing GDP. And we don't have it. We have it 2 or 3%. But to keep that going, we're importing people in, and part of them is to make them consumers. Obviously, cheap labor is something that big business loves because it's not just them. It drives down wages for everybody else as well, and they love that because for the average business, 2/3 of their expense is payroll. So they're looking at that. I mean, I get it's money. I wanted to just put up a comment, Robbie, if you want to answer this. I'm
Sure.
pretty sure that if the U.S. leave most of these countries alone, they would have a better chance of fixing themselves. How about lifting the sanctions and embargoes
I agree.
on the
100%. No, why are we embargoing Venezuela? We should be doing business with them. We should be importing their oil. I mean, see, that's the stuff that Trump ran on, and
he's not doing it though.
No, well, of course not.
The sanctions are still in place against Russia, which has just pushed Russia into China's arms.
Sure.
No,
I completely agree. And
even on NPR over the weekend, they were finally admitting that those sanctions failed.
Of course, they failed. All it does is it incentivizes other countries to get away from the so-called rules-based system and the Western economic order. Start building one of their own. Trump is not America first. He hasn't been since. I don't know if he ever was. To be completely honest,
we don't have it. And you know what? Honestly, Robbie, this is to me the crux, actually, of the big, Gothic letter, drop shadow, flashing lights problem that we face. The problem is that we don't have any politicians or political parties who prioritize the problems of the American people.
Not one.
Period. None.
And you know what? One thing's keep on. I'm not a lefty, right? I'm a right winger.
No, you're not.
I would have voted for Zoran, even though I disagree with him
who
on
we will
most
be talking
things.
about a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, Zoran is being more MAGA than Trump is. He's addressing the issues.
Yeah, I mean,
where's Trump?
Yeah, I mean, like Zoran. I mean, I thought it was cool when Zoran was asked at the mayoral debate, "Hey, are you going to go to Israel after you're elected?" Which is something traditionally a lot of New York mayors have promised to do. And he was had this sort of puzzled response, like, why would I do that? I have problems with right here in New York City. New Yorkers need help. And then the follow-up question is well, what about Jewish New Yorkers? And he's like, Jewish New Yorkers have problems, and I'll be reaching out to them like all New Yorkers. And I'm like, correct answer, right? Yeah. I mean, even if I would, I'm trying to think of I would love it if the United States were closer to Russia. I think it would be a good thing. Of course, I don't want the mayor of New York City to be like, I'm going to Russia. Why? You don't need to go to Russia. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't even need to go to New Jersey. You just stay here and do your job.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, again, my immigration stand is twofold. One, end the sanctions, start trading with people, close the borders, and that's it. America first does not mean being the American empire. That's not America first.
Well, so Adrian in the Rumble chat is sort of saying, hey, it's America first. Sorry, Juan Don saying America first, not Americans first, Robbie. And I think the question is, right, that's a valid point. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I mean, you want to address that?
See, America first, not Americans first. Well, I mean, it's just at the end of the day, though, what is America? America is an idea. It's also a geographical landmass. It's an actual country. And so there's two ways.
It's an empire also.
Yep, it is an empire. So there's two ways that you can kind of go through and dissect this. A nation typically is made up of a group of people with a shared history, a shared language, typically a shared religion, and a shared culture. We have none of those things. No, here in America, we haven't since the 1960s with the Immigration Act that Ted Kennedy pushed through. So we can do away with the whole idea of an American nation in the traditional sense. It doesn't exist. So what do we have? What holds us together? One is economic self-interest, be able to come here, make a living, have a better life for our kids. Number two is the symbols, at least the mythology about what is it makes Americans Americans. We can't even agree on that anymore. You have people out there burning the flag, tearing down statues. When you remove the statue of Theodore Roosevelt from the Museum of Natural History there in New York City, right, you kind of lost the plot, because without him, we wouldn't have Yellowstone National Park. So, I mean,
or the Museum of Natural History.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we are now. So the only thing we have left right now is economic self-interest. Yeah. If you import the entire fucking third world to drive down wages, we don't have that anymore. Then what happens? You become Yugoslavia. I would rather not that happen. So
I mean, it is weird to me that like they tore that thing down. By the way, it's and like let's look at the counterfactual, right? Like if places weird stuff from the past, like historical relics that have not been removed. At Columbia University, there's a building called Casa Italiana. It's where the Italian classes are headquartered, and if you take Italian, you'll probably have a class in there. Originally, it was donated by the Italian government under Benito Mussolini. It was originally named Casa Mussolini, and it has the fascista logo, which is the double-headed axe surrounded by, by a wreath. Everyone's seen it. Who's seen symbolism of fascist architecture, and that stuff's still on the building. You could chip that stuff away. No problem. People have suggested it at Columbia. I'm glad that they don't. I think it's kind of weird and cool that it's still there. It doesn't mean like, hey, we love, Mussolini was awesome. We love Italian fascism. Columbia's part of Italian fascism. But it's a historic relic, and it's an oddity. And you point to it and you're like, look at that weird old shit. That used to be Casa Mussolini. I don't blame them for renaming it. Okay, because that was a little toxic after World War II.
Sure.
But leaving the building intact, why not?
Well, the thing is, it's all about just be able to have a conversation. We don't that's the last thing the powers that be want us to have. They don't want a right winger like me having a conversation with a communist like you, because then what happens is dangerous. You find this stuff called common ground, and that's the whole issue, right? Because
divide and conquer is their way.
Well, that's how the British conquered India. I mean, let's be honest. There's nothing new under the sun. If we're fighting each other, then we can't look up and see who's really screwing everybody. And that's Don Juan's point, right? It's America first, not Americans. Well, great. Then what is America? We have a majority of nothing.
Well, maybe we can't agree on what America is, but we can certainly agree on what Americans are. There's no question about that.
Well, we can't even agree on that anymore.
Well, I guess we can't, because some people are like,
my point of view is if you're here illegally, I'm sorry, you're not an American. You're not. You're whatever the hell is it from. And I'm not using my rules. I'm using the rules been put on me. If I had it my way, we would not have hyphenated Americans. My wife was black. She's not an African American. She's never been to Africa. She's an American. My kids are not African American. They're Americans. Ted, you're an American. I'm an American.
Yeah. Anyone who's a U.S. citizen is an American.
But what is so that we just keep subdividing, keep cutting, and you got to ask yourself why? And it's because it's a war on the idea of what America is.
True. That is true. And it's also a distraction, because while we're slicing and dicing, like, well, if someone who came here as a dreamer and they're 1 year old and when they were 1 and now they're 30, should we let them in? Obviously, I think we should let them in. You don't. But the point is that, like,
there's a reason.
While we're arguing about that, we're ignoring the assholes who are fucking us over
completely. And the reason why I don't agree with that, if we would close the borders, Ted, I have no problem with the dreamers. But I am not in favor of an other amnesty like what Reagan pushed through back in the 80s, with America open to the whole third world to just come in and continue driving down wages and continue giving more and more and more economic and political power to the people that hate me. Sorry, I'm not interested in that.
Look, honestly, I want to give you this, right? I remember that very vividly in immigration reform, which Reagan pushed through, I believe in 86, if memory serves, thereabouts. He said this was a deal that he, of course, we didn't know at the time that he was as senile as Joe Biden would be at the time, but he was. But anyway, he said, basically the Republicans said, we will now have an amnesty. We'll close the border. No one else comes in illegally. No more porous border. And from now on, but the people who are here and can prove they didn't commit any crime and prove that they've been here, they can stay. That was the deal that the Republicans sold the country at the time.
Correct.
And then they didn't adhere to it. Reagan didn't keep it. George H.W. Bush didn't adhere to it, and so on. And presidents of both parties did not adhere to it. And so I think where people like you are, correct me if I'm wrong, is like, don't sell me that bill of goods again. I don't believe you, because you did that before and you lied. Is that basically right?
100%. And I've taken it a step further. An agreement, like say, for example, if I go into a business, if I sign a contract with you, Ted, let's say if I want to, I want to mass publish 100,000 of your books, right? And so we go and we sign the contract, and then you pay me, but I don't publish it.
Oh, not great.
Are you then at that point bound to send me those books for me to send out? The answer is no.
Nope.
So the agreement was, you can stay here, Juan and Fidela and everybody else can stay here, provided we close the borders. You can close the borders. I am on no obligation whatsoever at that point to accommodate your illegal ass in my country. Get out.
Well, first of all, those people, hell, a lot of them died of old age since then, right? I mean, that was a long time ago.
But it's an ongoing issue, though, right? I mean, I'm talking about from 88 to like 5 minutes ago. Get out of my country.
I would say that the people who, like the individuals who came in under that understanding, they didn't do anything wrong. They stuck to their end of the deal. I mean, this is what you and what the American people were lied to about by politicians was by the two parties. The Democrats and the Republicans lied to us about securing the border. That's really true. And it's annoying to me that Democrats became the party that, I mean, both parties left the border open. Make no mistake about that. But it's weird to me that Democrats, and I've had this argument with many of my friends who are Democrats, but most of my friends are Democrats. They all said, it's like, oh, the world should have no borders. It's like, I'm like, okay, I can agree. As a Marxist, I kind of agree with that, but that's not the system we live in, right?
No.
And you can't unilaterally say we're just going to jump ahead to an open border world where everybody's living in their little commune. We have to go through. I mean, Marx, Lenin, Mao all understood that to evolve to that kind of socialist utopia, you were going to have to evolve through a number of stages to adjust. As we slowly peeled away the old nation state capitalist system. And so what they're talking about is like, fuck it, just throw it open and hope for the best. That's ridiculous.
It doesn't, people are tribal by nature. And if you start having stuff that changes too much, too fast, then you get tribalism. Forget nationalism. You get tribalism at that point, and then all bets are off. And that's where I see us going. And for the life of me, Ted, that's what scares me the most. Well, because there's nothing good coming of it.
I mean, so the thing is, realistically, truly, I don't blame the people who come here at all. They're, like you said, these are most of them are great. I mean, they're bringing diversity, interesting points of view, new foods, and so on, cultures, and really, honestly, making the country a better place. I just wish we had.
If you're a shareholder, because you're driving down wages.
But I wish we had more legal immigration where, it's like, you want to come to the United States, apply, be interviewed, if we can use you. I mean, and I do think there's different types of people we need. I mean, there might be a business sector that's really having a hard time finding workers. And, we're going to say agriculture, but it could be anything. And those people should have a leg up on getting in. I think people who speak English, should have a leg up on getting in. It just makes sense. If I applied to become a Kazakh citizen, I guarantee you that I have a better shot if I spoke fluent Kazakh. Of course. They would like my application a little better. But anyway,
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, you'd be coming in legally. You'd be doing it the right way. You wouldn't be just jumping across the border saying, okay, here I am. Support me or you're a racist. Sorry.
But that said, just for the sake of, but just not to start too much arguing here, but I gotta say, the people who came in under Biden, they did come in, they thought they were coming in legally.
Yeah, but they didn't. So presidents don't make laws, Congress does.
Well, but from their point of view,
I don't care about the point of view, Ted.
Like if you were applying in my Kazakh example, if I read President of Kazakhstan invites all cartoonists from America to come now and enjoy like beautiful life on the steppe. I'm like, the president of Kazakhstan said it's okay. Who am I to say no?
Well, then
I'm right. You're not. Foreigners don't know the. You can't expect illegal migrants who who like trudge through the Darien Gap through the jungle, who have no education in most cases, to understand our Constitution and our separation of powers when our own Supreme Court doesn't understand it.
I mean, you're making my case right there. I mean, we are importing people who are functionally illiterate in their own language, not to mention the English language, which is. Well, I agree.
Most Americans are descended from people who, back in their home countries, were losers because otherwise they wouldn't have left.
Well, also, most Americans, let's be honest, most Americans are illiterate and stupid. So there is that too.
By choice.
But I mean. And I know we got to move on, but one thing I just want to point out about how you're talking about the birth rate. One, end abortion, get rid of birth control. You fix that problem like overnight because people have sex. That means you have babies. That means you have a new workforce. So if that's your issue, hi, Hungry, how you doing? I like what you're doing. Show me more. So we can definitely take up that model. Number two, the more and more that we automate using AI, what are you going to do when you import another 100 million people here to do these jobs that no longer exist in 5 years? What do you do? So these are questions, Ted, that the people on your side of the aisle cannot answer.
Well, I'm not hearing any answer. You're right. I'm not hearing any answers from anybody to those questions.
Well, because people on my side say send them the hell back. So that's why I'm not saying it about.
That's still not going to solve. I mean, fine, but that's not going to solve our big ass problem, which is we have a government that doesn't care about us.
Well, that's why you keep electing people like Zoran and just keep telling them to fuck off.
Yes, so I just hope he doesn't sell out like the way they all do.
Okay, like AOC?
Like AOC. So also in the big, beautiful bill, assuming it passes as is, that's a huge assumption because right now we're talking about the Senate version. The House version is decidedly different. These two versions will, assuming they both pass, will have to go to a House Reconciliation Committee, conference committee to be reconciled, and it's that can be a challenge. Anyway, in terms of defense, they would throw $25 billion at the so-called Golden Dome defense missile system, which is kind of like Iron Dome in Israel, but for the entire United States. $21 billion for ammo restocking. Gee, where did all of our ammo go? It starts with a U.
Does it end with an E?
It might end with an E, and some guy whose name starts with a Z was involved with that. And there was also an guy, people.
The genocide guy. Hold on.
The genocide dude. That's right. The irony. The Nazi
BBs.
Yeah. That's right. That's where all that ammo went. $21 billion bucks. I mean,
Ted, that's why we don't have pennies anymore. They need to copper to make new bullets.
That's a good point.
That's what it is.
$34 billion for more expanding the naval fleet, which frankly, from what I've read from military analysts, is a total fucking waste of money. Naval warfare isn't really a thing anymore. And you could see what happened recently with the, never mind, we'll get into the efficacy issue in Iran. But when the U.S. bombed Iran, those B-2 bombers, they didn't fly out of bases in the Middle East. They flew from the United States. Yeah. And we don't need bases in the Middle East at all. They didn't leave from an aircraft carrier because aircraft carriers can't handle B-2 bombers, not even close. So the truth is, I mean, we don't really, I don't know. The Navy is too big as it is. $12.5 billion for modernizing air traffic control systems. I'm all for that. I live in near Newark Airport, where the ATC has been winking out from time to time. Not good. Robbie, what do you think about this? $250 million for the JFK Center for the Performing Arts in Washington. I know Trump's on the board now, but doesn't that seem like a lot of money for an institution that like most American taxpayers can't afford to attend when they're tourists in DC? I mean, that's pretty pricey stuff.
I mean, if the city of New York wants to pay for it, more power to you. I don't see how the federal government should be funding that. I mean, how's that? How is some schmuck in Idaho going to benefit from this in any way, shape, or form?
They're not. They're not. So they just aren't.
It should be a local thing.
All right, then there's going to be Trump accounts, formerly MAGA accounts, providing $1,000 savings accounts for kids born between 2024 and 2028. With parental contributions up to $5,000 annually taxable upon withdrawal for education, job training, or home purchases. That also would replace student loan repayment plans with two options. Student loans would now be repayable over a 10 to 25 year period because they're so high now, they have to do that. And a less generous repayment assistance plan, saving $330 billion. Sounds to me like they're going to be making things more expensive for college than they already are. I'm against student loans entirely. I think if there were no student loans, tuition wouldn't be as high as it is because colleges wouldn't be able to keep raising tuition as fast. But if you're going to have student loans, they should be nonprofit. They should be at the rate of the of the Fed funds rate, the rate the banks borrow at, plus maybe a small servicing fee just to cover the basic expenses. But that's it. People, college loans should not be a profit base, which they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is probably going to break a lot of people's brains. I think that college should be free. I mean, truly, I do. Just like healthcare. I mean, this is coming from a right winger. The system that we have currently does not work, and in my opinion, all this does is just incentivize more and more companies to import more H-1B visa holders because the domestic populations are able to afford to get educated. That's all this is. This is all a big old scam. That's all this is.
And let's see, and finally, the fiscal impact, your favorite. This will add $3.8 trillion to the federal deficit over 10 years.
Excuse me.
Despite $1.6 trillion in mandatory spending cuts. By the way, this part is ridiculous, Robby. This bill assumes that it's only going to add $3.8 trillion because it's assuming a 5.2% GDP growth. Now, let me tell you, if we had a 5.2% GDP growth, we'd be living in a very different country. These days, if we get 2 or 3%, we're psyched. Economists are happy. I mean, 5.2 is an overheated, like Chinese economy during the gangbuster years of like the aughts and the teens. I mean, that's not the U.S. I mean, by the way, we would have major inflation too if we had a 5.2% GDP increase. I mean, inflation wouldn't be controllable by the Federal Reserve. I mean, it would be, but it's also pure fiction. I mean, the deficit's going to go up much faster than that.
Of course it is. No, this is all smoke and mirrors. And one of the things I was looking at, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like that these so-called spending cuts that Trump is talking about, they're not cuts. It's a sequestering on spending. They're not actually reducing the expenditure on anything.
Nope.
So, I mean, they're not cutting spending. All they're saying is it's like, we're not going to increase spending at the same rate that would normally go up. That's not a cut.
It's like Doge never even happened.
Well, that's because it is a whole waste of time. I mean, I think that's what Elon Musk is seeing, is that Washington, D.C. is fundamentally broken. The country, that people keep saying that America is the richest country on earth. You're not the richest country on earth if you're $37 trillion in debt. So you can't have both of those things. That's kind of like Trump. I mean, that you have a lot of credit, but you have no cash. And so then you're not rich. All you're doing is just transferring one balance to another credit card. And then you're going to max out the next one before you transfer the balance again. That's not wealth. That's a destruction of wealth. Because inflation, correct me if I'm wrong, Ted, but you worked in banking. Inflation isn't rising prices. That's a symptom of it. Inflation is expansion of the money supply.
Well, that's controversial, but basically, yeah, basically.
Because government can only pay for things three ways, right? One way is through taxation. Mm-hmm. The other way is through bonds, where you sell bonds to people, and then they loan the government money at interest. Mm-hmm. Or the number three, which is what we're currently doing, is that you just create money off thin air.
Oh, you forgot one,
and that's inflation.
Tariffs.
Well, tariffs as a tax.
Well, okay, yeah, but they're generally considered separate. So there's
I mean, those are the three ways. I mean, four if you throw in tariffs to make it a separate category.
I guess we could also the government can also sell off assets too.
Yeah, that worked great for the Romans. Hey, how about we sell you this land to the Visigoths, because that way we can reduce our overall taxable area, and it's not going to be a problem.
What could ever go wrong? Well,
Balkans.
We'll see. What could go wrong? All right, let's move on here. The chief UN nuclear inspector says that Trump is completely full of shit. Frankly speaking, one cannot claim that everything has disappeared and that there is nothing there. Rafael Mariano Grossi, Director General of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, told CBS News last night. He said that when the U.S. dropped 14 bunker busters on Iran's 2 uranium enrichment centers, the damage was bad, but not total. He said that he believed that all of the more than 18,000 centrifuges buried in those underground enrichment halls had been destroyed or damaged and knocked out of operation. But now his new analysis, that's what he originally said, and this is an analysis that's shared with the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, says that the strike only set back the Iranians by a few months. The CIA director said later in the week that the Iranian program had been severely damaged. The DIA focused on the enrichment process, and apparently the enriched uranium was moved out, and there's probably centrifuges elsewhere.
Yeah.
So, I think, this is one of those times I want to give Donald Trump his due. I don't know if this was by accident or intentionally, but it looks like he may have outsmarted Bibi Netanyahu to some extent here. Because basically, he claims, look, you wanted me to bomb Iran for years and years and years. You've been bugging me to bomb these nuclear sites. Okay, I bombed the shit out of them. Right. Now, I also let the Iranians know I was coming. And so I gave them plenty of warning. They knew, but still, I did what you wanted me to do. Yeah. I know I didn't do it really the way I should have done it by being quiet, but I did it. Yeah. So now, Bibi Netanyahu, shut the fuck up. I did what you told me. Leave me alone. And, and now I'm free to normalize relations with Iran if I want to. And it's interesting because, I don't know, Trump is so all over the place. Last week, he said, I want to talk to the Iranians. And he was asked, will you be talking about the nuke program? He's like, what nuke program? I bombed that. Yeah, so if he's not talking about the nuke program, he's got to be talking about getting rid of the sanctions and normalizing relations, because that's the only other things there are to talk about. So, unless you want to talk about sports or music or something, I doubt that. So it's like, but then over the weekend, I guess he got a call from Bibi, his master's voice. Yeah. And it's like, then he's like, I'm not going to talk. I have no plans to talk to the Iranians. But, Washington speak, I have no plans to, is not a denial. That's like, it's sort of like, I have no plans to speak in Montana soon.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't planning on guest hosting today yet. Here I am.
Right. Exactly. So, or tomorrow, which seems likelier than not, but we don't know. Yeah. But you're ready to, I assume.
Yeah, I'm ready to. I mean, listen, if President Rall of the People's Republic of Rallistan calls me and wants to have some expert redneck opinion on how to close the borders and enact sweeping demographic policies regarding elimination of birth control and abortion, I'll take that call.
And that's good to know. So I think that's kind of like where he is. I mean, look, I think the bottom line is he's off the hook. He doesn't have to worry. There's kind of like nothing that Netanyahu could ask for now. That like, what are you going to do? U.S., please nuke Tehran. I mean, what's he going to ask for? It's like, I gave you what you wanted, but you didn't. But you didn't do it the way I liked. Okay.
I assure you, I don't think Netanyahu has any problem at all with asking for more and more stuff. He's been sucking on the American tit for 30 years. I mean, he has no problem at all with squeezing that udder.
It's like the Grimm's fairy tale about the fishmonger's wife. Do you know that story? It's one of my favorites.
I've heard of it, but I've never read it.
A very desperately poor fisherman is fishing from the sea. He catches, as one does, an enchanted flounder, and the flounder is like, I'm actually a prince who's been turned into a flounder, as one does. If you let me go, I will grant you a wish. So he's like, okay, well, my wife is really poor. She's always bitching about our shitty hovel by the sea. Can you give her a nicer house? So the flounder says, it's done. Go home. He goes home. indeed his wife is cooking in a cute little cottage by the sea. So then a couple days later, he's back at the sea fishing. He catches the flounder again. And but the wife says before he goes, hey, if you see that flounder again, it's a nice cottage, but I could really use a castle. So she keeps happening over and over. She asks for one thing after another. She gets bigger and bigger houses. Eventually she wants to be queen. Then she wants to be empress. Every time he goes down to the ocean is choppier and like darker, and there's storm clouds. Finally, at the end, she's like, I want to be Lord God of all creation. And he's like, woman, you've gone too far. You can't be Lord God of all creation. Even a magic flounder can't give you that. And then she's like, go down there and tell the flounder, catch the flounder and make him. And then he's like terrified. He tells the flounder, my wife wants to be Lord God of all creation. And he's like, fuck your wife. She's back in her hovel.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good story. I mean, it's kind of like Midas. King Midas in Greek mythology. Everything he touched, he turns into gold until he realizes he lost the most important thing when he touches his daughter. And what do you get? You can't take it with you.
No.
No. You want to know why you don't take your gold with you to heaven?
Heavy?
No, because why you need pavement?
Good point.
So, I mean, what's the point?
You can't take it with you. Great song from Australia. Anyway, so let's and then finally today, last but not least. So basically, I won't read this story, but here's what's going on. So the New York City mayor's race, as you know, Zohran Mamdani won a decisive victory in ranked choice voting in the mayor's race. And the powers that be, the rich establishmentarians, both on the right and on the left, the Democrats and Republicans are absolutely losing their fucking minds that a democratic socialist who wants to freeze the rent and create government-run grocery stores is poised to become the next mayor. Well, so they're trying to find out an alternative. Basically, it's Bernie Sanders redux. Who can stop Bernie? Who can stop Zohran? So the options are Curtis Sliwa, who's the Republican nominee for mayor. He's the Guardian Angels founder. There's Cuomo, who is on the ballot and can run as an independent, has not decided to drop out. And then there's incumbent mayor Eric Adams, who was, of course, indicted on some pretty credible federal corruption charges, but then basically made a deal with Trump to not enforce sanctuary city rules against immigrants, invite ICE in, and in exchange for a pardon, which he got. Well, not a pardon. Basically, the DOJ dropped all the charges, which pissed off a bunch of the people in the DOJ. But I think we all know that Eric Adams is corrupt. Adams is so unpopular that he wasn't able to run for re-election in the primary. He was scared of what was going to happen to him. So now the New York Post and other powers that be are trying to figure out, can the opposition to Zohran come together around another figure? They think basically it's not possible in a city where only 11% of the population is registered Republican for Curtis Sliwa to be elected. They think Cuomo is too damaged by his defeat and also his sexual harassment charges, his butt grabbery. So that leaves America's most corrupt mayor, Eric Adams, who and basically you're going to love this, Robbie. I saved this for you. I don't know if you know this. So Eric Adams invented a new political party that he's the only member of. He's running as on the Stop Anti-Semitism ticket. And so that's what he's running under. So basically the powers that be are trying to get rid of Cuomo and Sliwa. Cuomo is basically staying in to see what he can leverage. But basically the idea would be to get him to drop out and get him to endorse Adams. Sliwa is more complicated. Apparently they can't get him to, under the law, he has to leave the state. And Curtis Sliwa is not going to leave the state. Like, Ron Kuby's my Facebook friend. He used to have a radio show with Curtis Sliwa. And Ron Kuby put on Facebook, I've known him for years. I've known him longer than any of his 5 wives have known him. And when the one thing that Curtis Lewa loves is attention, and and he's not going to give up that attention easily. So he's going to need a job in the Trump administration to lure him away from his Republican nominee status and his house full of cats that he shares with his girlfriend. So basically, that's wild. That's where we're at. And then everyone's making the case like, we'll get Eric Adams to do it. He'll be great. And they're trying to, it's literally, it's this thing where it's like the people have spoken. The people voted for Mamdani convincingly in the same way that the people spoke. They wanted Bernie Sanders convincingly. It's like, this is like that election. Where was it? Was it Romania?
Yeah, but they just canceled this. You voted for the wrong person. Just have another one.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. Or in France, where they told, we know that Le Pen would likely win the next French presidential election, so we're not going to let her run next time. She's disqualified.
Of course.
It's democracy. It's democracy without democracy.
Well, it's the Ukrainian model. Let's be honest. That's what this is. Ukrainian-style democracy is incredibly stable. So that's one thing we can get. And I was going through, and I don't know if how much you're on Twitter over the weekend or X, what the hell it is. But Laura Loomer, she is just going after Mamdani, and just like, what? I don't understand why this insane Jewess has such a hard on, if that's the correct term for her. I'm going to assume that maybe she has a part. I don't know. Yeah, she's Jewish. She calls herself a feisty Jewess. 100%. If you go after
feisty, her, that part's for sure.
And if you go after her, she accuses you of being an anti-Semite. So whatever. It's just a weak argument for a weak mind. But I could 100% see her going, teaming up with Adams on the fight anti-Semitism ticket, and I could see follow me on this. I could see. I could see a lot of your Mark Levin types and other people try to come on because mark my words, they are going to try to use anti-Muslim sentiment in New York, wrapped up in fighting anti-Semitism to go after Mamdani because they can't go after him on the ideas.
Well, I love the whole fight anti-Semitism idea. I think we should get a lot of political parties to fight things that don't exist, like anti-Semitism on American campuses, which does not exist. We should come up with, the fight Zoroastrianism party. Yeah. We should have the fight animism party, because people who worship animals are scum and must be stopped. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there is enough Islamophobia in New York City to defeat Mamdani, to be honest. Also, he's not really Muslim, right? The guy's not. I don't think there's a single picture of him attending an Islamic service. I don't think he's a member of a mosque. He's Muslim like I'm Catholic. He's culturally Muslim.
Well, I think. Well,
correct me if I've been at mass more recently than he's been at mosque.
Correct me for if I'm speaking out my ignorance here. But I'm pretty sure the people in New York, they'll probably have more concerns about where you're going to live and how expensive your food's going to be than than if you pray to your 3-armed star god.
That's right. Nobody's going. Yeah, no. That's for sure. First of all, nobody really believes that Mamdani is some kind of. They've been saying if he's elected mayor, he'll get rid of all of the Jewish temples and synagogues in New York City. I'm like. That he doesn't want to, and he wouldn't be able to. And the thing is, some of these accusations are so outlandish; they're just not credible. I don't think they're going to fly, even with people who are very pro-Israel, very Zionist, very Jewish. I just don't think it's going to fly with enough of those. There's always gullible people, but You're not going to. I just don't think I don't think you get to 50%. You know what I mean? I don't think or to a plurality. I don't think you get to 40% that way in New York City. You already had 40. My math is as follows. You have 43% of the Democratic vote in a city that is 6-1 Democratic, right?
Right.
that so they for those people, and these are primary voters, which means they're highly motivated. Those people all voted for Mamdani. What are the odds that you're going to be able, with any stupid series of attack ads, are you going to be able to change that result? I don't think you're going to be able to. I mean, unless Mamdani fucks up in some big way, or Eric Adams reveals his master plan to make the rents cheaper. You need a surprise. You can't jawbone your way out of this.
Maybe Mamdani's name will be the one name on the Epstein list that gets released. Listen, crazier things have happened.
He would be. It's like, what was?
It'd be the one name.
One of the. He'd be. But considering when this all happened, he'd be one of the underage victims.
Listen, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like the laptop from hell. It was disinformation before it wasn't. So, right. I mean, you could always just kind of spin this thing. And the thing is, I don't really understand, because even if Mamdani got elected, the city council would never do what he wants to do anyway.
Oh, that's not true.
That's not true. Okay,
that's not true. The city council is really kind of very ideologically extremely similar to Mamdani, and has been for years. It's a left-wing city council, and it just became a little more left-wing in the most recent cycle. A lot of Democratic Socialists won their council seats. So I think, if anything, the city council will be like, hello, my son, we love you, let's work together. No, city council will be totally on Team Mamdani. He'll get things done.
Well, then I stand corrected, and that's why they're going to go after him, because if he's able to actually govern to the left,
yeah, he could.
Then that would be huge. I'm not a lefty, but I am against the establishment politics, and so if you can get a lefty to do this in New York City, then I mean, that could be the thread that starts to unravel the whole tapestry.
I think that's why they're scared. I agree with you in a big way. All right, guys, we're going to call it a show. Thank you, everyone.
Do you want me to do an ad read?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Or would you like me to send it to you, since you read faster?
All right, why don't you send it to me? I'll do it.
Yeah.
And everyone, while Robby's doing that, just a reminder, please like, share, and follow the show. We're tantalizingly close to beginning to monetize this thing. We have literally not earned any money from this show up until this point. So very little, pennies really. So if you guys could please like, follow, and share the show. I think the sharing part really needs to happen more. That's free, really helps us a lot. If you value what we're doing here, please do it. Hell, if you don't value what we're doing here, just do it. That's the important part. So thank you so much. Here we go. Lo Aller is asking, do we have the ad up?
Yep, it's over on the chat.
Lo Aller is saying, I know Ted's excited about Mamdani and thinks it's something different. I say he's AOC 2.0. Willing to put money on this, Ted? Oh, no, I'm not willing to put money on this, because you may well be right. They all break our hearts, we'll see. The pressure on Mamdani and he's like Jesus in the desert for 40 days with the devil showing all of the kingdoms. All of this can be yours, Mr. Mayor Mamdani. All you have to do is bow down to me. That's what this is right now. All right, I'm going to read that ad. Okay. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform from the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They are attacked by brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers because they don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you, but if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us here on Rumble. And with that, we will be back tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 a.m. on the Pacific, and in the maritime provinces of the future 51st state of Canada, 11 o'clock. Not in all the maritime provinces, but in some of them. Robby, thanks so much for filling in for Manila. Yep. Hope everything gets worked out, and we will keep you posted about her. If she's out, if you're just joining us, she's out for a family emergency that she's taking care of. And we hope all that works out great. And we will see you later. I'm going to have to do the outro thing. Where is that? Oh, here we go.
While you find that, I'm going to selflessly plug my gaming channel. So as some of y'all know, I am a content creator on Rumble with Putinbot Gaming, the best gaming channel on Rumble. And the reason I bring that up is that Rumble has got new metrics coming out for the content creator program that actually measures the number of chats. So I need 20 unique people, not per stream, but just over a month's time, to come in and just participate in the live chat. There's typically not a whole lot of that on gaming streams. So if y'all would just follow the channel, if y'all see me streaming, come call me a Nazi or a racist or whatever. I don't really care. Just come and say something. That would help me out a lot and help keep me in the program. So thank you.
Okay. And with that, I found the outro. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.